How's it going, everybody? So something I want to do here is kind of an audio log of kind of developer journals, right? I'm a big blogger and I like to, blog and make videos and everything else. But I think that something I'd like to try doing as well is using this podcast to release episodes of audio logs as well, of kind of my development journey. So, what have I been up to this week? Well, I'm a big, iOS developer. It's what I do as a day job. So obviously I've been paying a lot of attention to Apple's developer conference, WWDC 20 this year. The whole thing was online. I'm not going to go into all the details here because, it's a good chance that most of you or some of you are not really interested too much in the details, but safe to say that a lot of my week has been spent looking at the videos. There's always a ton of information comes out. Clearly, we expect new operating systems every year. So looking at what to expect there. But in particular for me, it's always about the development tools, Xcode, and changes to the Swift language. Of course, this year, major changes to the Swift UI language as well. So, those are the things that I have to stay up to date with because it's my job, right? So, that's taken a lot of my week and a lot of attention this week. Now, that said, I'm currently, as I record this, installing the new macOS Big Sur release that will come out later in the fall this year. The beta 1 of that is being installed on an external drive right now. I am certainly not foolish enough to put it anywhere near my, main machines, as it were, at this stage. Although, interestingly, Apple is saying in July will be the first public beta, so they must be feeling pretty good about this release as far as, stability goes at that point to throw it out to the public. Also this week, it's been another interesting week for getting things done. I've had some store releases that have gone out for some apps that I am responsible for. I don't really want to go into too much details in those, but anytime you are releasing something to app stores for the public, especially when you have a large user base, you usually take time out. And what I like to do is step back as I make those releases and make sure that everything is as solid as it can be, everything is prepared as it can be. And then, I monitor the statistics a lot during that week to look for any spikes of any issues or anything like that. And so far, as always, thanks to just working with some brilliant developers, everything's looking really good. So that always makes my week a lot better. Looking ahead to next week, I think there's probably going to be a lot of Swift exploration for me, along with all my usual duties. Friday night, I'll be doing another stream. I try to do a live coding stream every Friday night. I did one the past Friday, and that was, it's always a lot of fun to play around with. Last Friday, I actually did installing Ubuntu 20.04 LTS on a Parallels virtual machine. And that's, it's funny, years and years later, that is still one of my most played videos on YouTube. So if you're curious about that, go to youtube.com/GRFXG. That's my channel, and you'll find a lot of videos there. But it's always interesting to me that the installing Ubuntu on a virtual machine is still one of the most popular, even after all these years. It's quite a few years old, so I definitely had to go in and update that this week. And I'm now using Parallels from Act 15. It's just a great way, if you're a developer, having some kind of virtualization software, be it Parallels or VirtualBox or Docker, whatever it may be, just having the ability to spin up an OS or server, whatever you need, in a virtual machine isolated from the rest of your system is just fantastic. It really is an incredible technology when you think about it, right? If something goes wrong, all I need to do is trash that VM and start over. I haven't lost my main machine because it's protected in a VM, and I always keep them isolated from each other. It really just amazes me that we can do these things. Of course, Docker is a popular way to do that now, and I certainly have nothing against Docker. I've played around with it. I don't have a need for it right now on a daily basis, but I certainly would like to have some Docker VMs of development servers, that kind of thing, to just spin them up on the fly as I need them. So, this week going forward, like I say, it's going to be a lot more Swift. There's probably going to be some Jamstack in there as well for my own personal sites. I have a few goals I need to get in there and get done. So, I'm a big fan of Jamstack, as you know. I did actually set up a WordPress site last week just to try a couple of things out. And it was very interesting when I went back to WordPress, how much, how frustrating it can be sometimes to work with by comparison to spinning up like a Jamstack. There's always, of course, on both ways of doing it, there's a lot of configuration and those kind of things, but it always seems like it's much more of a fight with WordPress because invariably you end up having to install and configure all these plugins for various things that you need. And it just never feels as fast because, they're not static files being delivered, right? Even with modern day caching and everything else, you still got this PHP language doing processing in the background on the server. And that's not to knock PHP or WordPress. I'm just saying that, there's always a clear difference between statically delivered content and dynamically generated and delivered content. And I don't know that we'll ever get away from that. So that's a couple of updates this week, and I'm looking forward to doing some more posts and some more videos this week. Just wanted to put this out there as kind of a developer journal episode. I think I'm probably going to do more of these going forward. They're always good reference for myself as well. Kind of go back and see, what was I doing back then and how much has it changed now? And hopefully you enjoy them as well. If you are interested in reaching out to me, you can find me on Twitter at UIBuzz. I'd love to hear your developer journals, or maybe you have one, in which case, please tell me about it. I love being part of the development communities, and I certainly love reading other people's work or listening to their podcasts, whatever it may be. Like I say, reach out to me on Twitter at UIBuzz. Let's get a conversation started. With that, have a great development week, and I will speak to you next time.